writing today. Last week we talked about proposal, writing yourself, the technical proposal, the proposal process. Today we're going to be talking about the pricing side of proposal. Because if you can write the most amazing response, the most persuasive response you can, but if your pricing is not competitive or your pricing is off, you might not win. So now we talked about it last week. Just a quick reminder to see, we talked about best value and LPTA. Anybody wants to share with us what LPTA and best value stands for?
Lowest price technically acceptable.
Okay.
All right. That means lowest price technically acceptable is based on the value of your contract. It doesn't necessarily mean the lowest price. It's what's technically acceptable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So at the federal level, about 60% of contracts are awarded on a best value, or sometimes they call it trade-off. So it's not price. They go by best value. Best value has to do with, are you the most qualified? Do you have the better solution? Are you more persuasive in terms of your proposal? Do you paint a better picture of how your solution can solve their pain point? Is your technical team better? Is your quality assurance better? All of these different things is considered on the best value side. About 40% of federal projects are LPTA, lowest price technically acceptable. And lowest price means that they're going to evaluate your proposal response based upon whoever has the lowest price, and then they see who's technically proficient. So you may have the lowest price, but if your proposal is incomplete, they throw that out. If your proposal doesn't, you don't have a team that is convincing that you can do the type of work, they throw that out. So you still have to meet all the technical requirements, but they don't take into consideration, are you longer in business? Do you have a better quality program than somebody else? Do you have a better management team? Is your experience better? So all that is secondary, and price is more important. But because 60% of federal projects are best value, that's part of the reason why most of our training centers around you starting your business at the federal level, because they're best value. And so best value generally means you can have better profit margins. Lowest price, I mean, it's just a bottom to, a race to the bottom. That's not always the best option there. So quick review from last week. So George, thanks for chiming in. 10 bonus points for George. So let's go ahead and dive into quick points review for some of you who are joining us for the first time. Welcome to another class of the Certified Capture Manager training program. This is an official program where the business owners and the capture managers that attend this class here, we actually go through a certification process and certify them as capture manager in the program here, the CCM program. If you're here, you're welcome. These classes are open to our members, the public, to come and join our students who's officially enrolled in the program. If at some point we do have the next cohort starting up in May, so if at some point you want to officially enroll in the 12 weeks, a total of 15 weeks, 12 weeks of training plus the exam and the boot camp, so about a total of 15 weeks. You can go to capturemanagement.org. I'm going to put this here in the link. If you're at any point in the future, you're interested in attending, or you want one of your salesperson or one of the person in your company to attend, so that you can see the whole life cycle of the government contracting process, from all the way from learning how to speak Governese, to getting registered, to identifying your NAICS code, to identifying which agency buys your product, your services, to marketing, relationship building, capability statement, websites, all the way to pricing, proposal writing, performing on your contract, and closing out the project. So So this program, 12 weeks, would take you through about 3 years of knowledge in a very short period of time. So if this is your first time here, that's what you're involved in here tonight. Tonight, we are at the proposal phase, talking about pricing. That's the bulk of tonight's topic. So read up more about the CCM program here. I'm gonna go back and start off with we do keep track of all the students and their scoring. It is a competitive environment because we're talking about pricing tonight, right? Everything you do in the government market, you're competing against another company, unless you use some of the techniques that we taught, right? How to win a sole source contract. And so if you're doing that, that's a whole different world. But if you are submitting a proposal like open competition, you're competing against everybody, or even set aside, you're competing against other small businesses. So this is week 9, and we keep track of all the points. So for those of you that came here early, you get the bonus points. So some of you got bonus points for coming early to class. We do that because if you're late to a class or if you're late to a pre-bidders conference, they won't let you in. If you submit your proposal late, 1 minute late, they won't accept it. So we incentivize people to come to class early. So that's part of the reason. So let's look at a quick review here today. So we have Chris with Zoom Inc. At 5,000 points. We have George at 5,200 points. And then we got Devon at 3,400, and we got Ian at 45. Ian coming back strong. That's good, man. Then we have Teresa at 4,800. Teresa has been in the lead for most of the whole 8 weeks, and then she took on, was it 2 or 3 kids? And life happens. So,
yeah, two-year-old and 4-year-old. So she had to take a trip to North Carolina or South Carolina to pick up the little one. So she missed the lab and she missed the class. And yeah. And George kicked some serious butt this week on his, or Jorge kicked some serious butt this week on his Gov University. That's how he got ahead of Chris. Chris has been ahead of George for weeks. They've been within points of each other, and then Jorge missed the lab, and so then Chris got ahead of him. And then this week, Jorge did about 70 or 80% of the Gov University. He got 286 points, and so he pulled into the lead.
All right, good stuff. Well, hey, it's a competitive world, so we're mocking the contracting world through keeping scores and so forth. So we got about still a few more weeks left. So if you're a little behind, hey, there's plenty of time to get to take the lead. So good job, Teresa. Hey, taking on 2 kids, that is a serious undertaking. So much of our heart goes out to you for loving up on the little children and bring them into your home. So Stacy is at 37. So Stacy, you are doing awesome, and then life happened also. So I guess a little bit of catch up, and then we've got Logan. I see Logan, doing some extra work to get caught up. So good job, Logan, on doing some extra work to get caught up there. All right, so any questions about your scores or anything like that before we go into tonight's topic? Okay, so I'm gonna continue. If you do put in the chat area, Guy can answer your questions. So we are in the Gov Fast Track, and we are in week 9. So let me jump down to week 8. So this is week 8. We talked about finding 3 projects. Did anybody find any good projects that you want to share that you say, hey, you know what? That was a good project. That was right on point. Anybody find any good projects you want to share with us as part of the homework from last week?
When you say projects
or opportunities?
Opportunities. Okay. Yeah, I found quite a few. I've already submitted 2 bids. The second one, I got a 3rd one today. The big one that I'm after is one from Vision 20.
The Government Contract Association, or GCA, is a national trade association comprised of commercial contractors, small and large companies, and government agencies, federal agencies, state agencies, local agencies, government staff, universities, nonprofits, and many other entities out there. Their vision is to create access to help small businesses to get into the government market, to open doors for commercial companies into the government marketplace, and to support government agencies in accessing more qualified contractors. Their mission is to educate, facilitate, and advocate for their members based on becoming the premier government contract association with their 3 pillars. Learn more about the Government Contractor Association at govassociation.org, govassociation.org, govassociation.org.
For PPE. It's probably the easiest contract I've seen out there, but it's a 5-year contract for 13.5, with a ceiling of 13.5 million. And I'm just waiting to hear back from the SBLO now. But I've got 2 that I just completed today. One is for stretchers and hampers. That's another easy one. The nice thing about that one is the quote that I received from my suppliers includes shipping. So I'm not paying for any shipping costs, or to the government, they're not paying for it. It's all rolled into the price. So I was able to keep the margins high and the costs low. So that's another one. And the last one was on patient scales. That's a $16,000 contract, but pretty good margin on that one as well.
Okay, all right, sweet. Well, I love that that you're actually submitting. We go through examples, we go through, we do the training, right? But you have to practice, you have to do it. In one of our previous cohort, during our 12 weeks, 15 weeks together, one company won 5 projects because they weren't just practicing. They did their practice and they actually, kept on submitting proposal, and they won 5 while they were in the program. So good job on that, George. That's how you went. I mean, you got to put it out. So
one that I have that I just received this afternoon, I'm definitely going to need help on, because I'm normally in the products business, but one of my teaming partners, Michaela Medical, she's in the service business and training, and the contract that we found today was perfect because it's CPR, AED, and training for the Marine Corps. But I don't know how to do the labor rates when it comes to that, how much to charge. So I'm kind of glad this is on labor today. That one's a really good one. It's a 3-year contract, and if the Marines like it, it's a permanent contract.
Okay, when's that due?
It's due next Monday.
Okay, so bring it to our lab session tomorrow. So today we're going to go through content, and then tomorrow in our Wednesday 1 p.m. lab session, we're going to cover project proposals. If you want us to review any proposals you're working on, if you want us to review any pricing you're working on, bring it to that session and we'll review it together.
All right, sounds great. Thank you.
All right, awesome. All right, anybody else found any good projects you want to share, or you submitted any bids? You want to share some good news with everybody?
I found a couple projects, but I'm probably not going to be able to submit bids because I'm having difficulty locating the product. That's with food. Some exciting things are happening on the chemical side, but we'll get to that at another time.
Okay. All right. Thanks for the update there, Chris. I know, you guys are in the perishable, the food, and right now pricing is like crazy because it's commodity, and it's a whole different world that we're in right now with inflation rates and going up, and pricing and labor shortages. And so some industries, you're really feeling it. So yeah, well, I see a familiar name on here, Karen. Is that the Karen Long that I know? Or is that somebody else?
I don't know. I think we've met, Abraham. I think it's been many, many years though. How are you?
Yeah. So now, did you go to Korea with us?
Oh my God, did I go to Korea with you, Abraham? What year was that?
That was
2017.
Yeah, 4 or 5 years ago, I guess. Wow. Well, I'm glad you circled back around. It's good to see you.
Good to see you as well.
Yeah. Well, you've had some pretty awesome success in here. Maybe I'll prep you a little bit. So later on, maybe share a few stories in terms of what you've done to be successful, and some things that you've done that some mistakes you made, so that you can kind of share with the group here. Because I think from the group I see on here, there's a few companies that's, in fact, there's a few companies in here that you probably want to meet up with also. Stacy Wilson is in IT, as well as Logan they're with Iron Bowl. So you guys probably have, being in the IT space together, there's probably some synergy for you guys to work together and potentially pursue some opportunities together.
Yeah, no, I'd be happy to. I definitely have a lot of lessons learned. So a lot of painful experiences that hopefully we turn into some good learning opportunities.
Okay, yeah, so that'd be good. So I'll chime you in a little bit. I just want to prep you a little bit so that you can.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Okay, do you guys see the right screen? Is it the main?
Yep.
Yes? Okay.
Yes.
All right, so we're going to be talking about proposal writing, but more around pricing strategies, and we're going to do a go or no-go, and we'll look at a few different tools. So this is where we've been. We talked about the 5 Ps, and because of time, we got lots of important stuff to cover, so I'm not going to go into all the Q&A time and asking to see who remembers all this here. I assume all of you remember our success formula, the 5 Ps: preparation, promotion, proposal, performance equals profit. You go through 4 phases to get to profit. And then we talk about the 12 steps. And you do these 12 steps here because this is the goddess of government contracting. And the more you're familiar with these 12 steps, the greater your chance of success. So I'm not going to do it again. Most of you are familiar with this. If you're brand new to this here, at some point in the future, join our cohort, because we go in cycles. So in May, we start from the very beginning. Today is week 9. So a lot of things we cover all the way to proposal right now, and we still got 3 more topics to cover in the coming weeks. So today we are at proposal, and we're going to talk about pricing. So, and then a quick review. And these are the 10 steps, and this is an oversimplification. Now I do want, because this is new content I'm reviewing here, for those of you that do remember this here, I do want you to chime in. We give 5 points for each one that you know. So the first one, I'm going to lead you into it. So the first step in terms of what an agency goes through is, first they have a need. So they establish a need. They say, hey, we have a problem, we have a pain point, and we have a need. What is step number 2? If you know step number 2, chime in, and then we will go into, you get 5 points. Chime on in.
Budget.
What was that?
Budget.
Budget, yes. Who was that?
And Terry.
Hey, Ann, thanks for chiming in. Yes. So you get a need. See, and you're not even in the official program. We're giving you points. That's awesome. Thanks for chiming in.
After the day I've had, I need the points. Thank you.
Yes. So budget, and what's after budget?
Is it market research, or am I jumping ahead?
Yeah, that's
I'm jumping ahead.
Very close.
Source of thought?
It's the forecast. So the agency have a pain point. They have a need. They have to do. Sometimes they have to put out a budget. They may have to go to Congress for appropriation, depending on how big the problem is. And then they have to put out forecasts when they're going to spend that money. So good guess, Stacey. What's next? I think you answered it earlier. Chime on in back, Stacey.
Market research.
Yes. Your market research, your market survey. These are required for most solicitation. It is required that they must go through a market research or market survey. Sometimes they call this a request for information or sources sought. It's the same thing. This is how you win sole source contract. It's step 1 through 4. This is where the magic happens. If you are a small business, you're saying, hey, I want to win a sole source contract. But if you're waiting till step number 5, where it comes out as a solicitation or RFP or RFQ, it's too late. At this point here, the contractor officer has already made a procurement decision of which method they're going to use, right? They might be using a contracting vehicle through IDIQ. They might be going through with a blanket purchase agreement. That they might be setting aside for 8A competitive. They might set aside for woman competitive. They may have made that decision. And if you're trying to get a sole source, it's too late at step number 5. All right, what's next? 5 points. Stacy got 5 points for the market survey. Anybody wants to chime in? What's after solicitation? Anybody?
Award?
Award. What's before the
Industry day.
Review.
the proposal? Yes, the proposal review. So they have to, you submit your proposal and then they review the proposal and they score it. Usually there's a source review team and there is a, in a small project, the contracting officer or the purchasing agent will be the one that reviews everything and award everything, right? But in a big project, 5 million, 10 million, 20 million, $1 billion solicitation, there's a team of people and they usually have a team that reviews only the pricing part of the proposal and a team that reviews the technical part of the proposal or the management part of the proposal. So that's the next step. And then after that is award. And then step number 8 is performance. Now you do the work and they manage the performance, making sure that you're doing it properly. And then they make sure that you're in compliance with all the requirements. If there is insurance requirement, they make sure that you have submitted your insurance requirement. If there are certain standards in place, they make sure that you're meeting those standards. And compliance also the statement of work, that you're meeting all the metrics according to the statement of work as well. And then finally close out. So the closeout process is where the contracting officer must gather all of the paperwork, make sure that you submit your invoice, make sure that you got paid, and then they have to package all the paperwork and then close out that project and then archive it before they can move on to the next project. So these are 10 steps that they go through. This is a review from what we covered last week. Okay, so today we're going to go into row 819 to 841. And so we're going to go into these topics here: developing your price cost, preparing your response, and your proposal resources. And we're going to cover those details there. So before you start writing, though, these are some things that you want to look at in terms of tips. And so first question you want to ask, you go to sam.gov, you find opportunity. First question, before you read the statement of work, before you read anything else, go directly to the response due date and see when it's due. If it's due today or if it's due yesterday, don't worry about it, right? Because it's too late at that point. Now, if it's due today and it's like a perfect match for you, and you're like, man, I wish I had more time to respond to this project here. What's one thing you can do? It's not too late. So what can you do? If you see something is due in a day or 2 days or 5 days from now, and it's a good match for you, and you really want to respond to it, what should you do?
Request
Ask for an extension.
Ask for an extension. Absolutely. Ask for an extension, right? Now, when you ask for an extension, don't just ask for can you give me an extension? You want to be very specific. You have to think through, okay, how much time do I need so that I can properly respond to this solicitation? And you want to give them 7 days or 14 days. Now, don't ask for 21 days or 31 days or 30 days. They're not going to give it to you. Maybe they may, but most of the time they won't. Now, here's my experience with the companies that we have worked with. When we give you a strategy in terms of, hey, if you're really interested in this project and you just don't have enough time, ask for an extension. When you ask for an extension and you do it in a very respectful way, and so the way you ask for an extension is this here. You email the contracting officer and say, hey, Mrs. Contracting Officer, my company is this, we're really good at this area, and we have a strong interest in submitting a proposal response to this here. Unfortunately, we just don't have enough time to respond to it. Is it possible for you to extend the proposal due date to 7 days from now? Or you give them a date. If today is the 19th, can you do it on the 25th? And so give them a specific target, and they can say yes or no. Now, about 50%, this is through our experience, 50% of the time, the contracting officer have accommodated these requests. Now, if they do not accommodate the request, what are some possibility of why that they won't move the due date? Give me some feedback.
They already have somebody in mind.
Yes, great point here. They already have a company in mind, and they're like, I don't want to read another proposal. Now, if it's truly open competition, and another few days is not a big deal to them, because the contracting officer, they've been working on this here for 6 months, and you're asking for 7 more days. Most of them is gonna like, yeah, that's fine, not a big deal. But if they do it, that means they're really open to receiving, or they don't have enough bidders on that potential projects. And if they do extend it, you know that it's truly open competition. If they're not willing to extend it, chances are it's already earmarked for somebody else. And so don't spend your night staying up 24 hours. If you see it due tomorrow, don't stay up 24 hours writing a proposal if they're not willing to extend the due date. All right. Next question, right? Do you have 3 relevant past performance? Now, not all project requires past performance, but I would say the bulk of projects will require that you have relevant past performance. So you look at the due date, you read through the statement of work, and you can do the work. Then you have to say, okay, do I have the past performance to bid on this here? If you don't, then do you have a teaming partner that have past performance? And if they don't, then it's a no-go. And then you want to think through, what's your win strategy? Is your win strategy to build past performance for your company? That's one win strategy, right? So if your goal is to build past performance, then pricing is not your main goal. You just want to make sure that you make a little bit profit. You're not trying to make the most profit. And we'll talk about profit in a second when we go into some pricing strategy here. And then, or is it to build a relationship? Is your goal here is to be profitable? Then that's a different strategy. If your goal here is, I just want to get my foot in the door so I can start a relationship with this agency, because this agency will lead me to the other agencies, the other procurement officer with this agency here. So is it to build relationship? And there's many other different, in terms of win strategy. Pricing obviously is part of it. All right, so let's talk about your go and no-go document. And so there's 2 ways to get the go, no-go. For those of you that's new in this class and this is your first time, stick around to the very end. I'm going to show you how you can have access to some of the documents that we're going to cover tonight. So if you stick around to the end, I'll even though you're not in the program, that's fine. I want to make sure you get access to some of these tools here. So you can download the go and no-go sheet right here. That's one way to do it. But I'm going to go to this new tool here called govgenie.com. I'm going to show you how the go and no-go is done through a software. So we're going to take a quick sidetrack here. We're going to go online to do a quick demo. All right, so this is GovGenie. Most of you, part of your homework was set up a free account on GovGenie. Some of you have done it. Some of you have not done it yet, but please do, because it's a powerful tool. Now it's in beta right now. So you're going to run into a few things that doesn't function, and that's fine. Just shoot me an email, because this is part of a project that we're working on. This is a GCA / Simple View, a partner that we have that's developing this software here to make it very affordable and supporting the small business community so that everybody have a chance to win contract. So when you first come in here, you want to go to the opportunities. So go to opportunity and look for a project that's a match for you. So I'm going to start up with NAICS. Any volunteer, give me your NAICS code. Primary NAICS code, preferably.
325.
Okay, what? 425?
325.
Oh, 325. Okay.
998.
998. All right, so 325-998. I'm going to click the little check here, apply. All right, so it pulls up a few projects. And ESOSolve low VOC white. I'm just going to carbon water treatment. So I'm going to just randomly choose one here. You see one that you like out of this first? I mean, there's 213, but I'm just going to choose one from here. In due date, right? So first thing we look at is due date, the 5/2. So we have a little bit of time here. So I'm going to click on this here, and this is the quick summary here. If I like what I see here, I'm going to add it to my bid board, and then I'm going to add it to my bid board. I'm going to hit add. And then I'm going to close out of this here. Then I'm going to go to my bid board at the top middle here. So this dietol adipate. I have no idea if I'm pronouncing this correctly, but so the way the go and no go is set up is it's already set up on this software. So I've added the project to my bid board. Then when I drag this here over to the scoping, because I'm gone from evaluating to scoping now. So this is the bid decision matrix here. These are the same questions that if you're new, you have to ask these questions. Now, if you're seasoned and you've been around for a long time, instinctively, you probably have a good idea about each project already. Because some of you, you've been planning on a forecasted project for 6 months. And so it's a different view. But for many of you, you're newer in the government market, you're like, oh, I just found it 2 days ago. And it just, and so if you're new, then you definitely want to go through all these 10 questions here. So the first question is this here. Can you meet the proposed due date, right? That's what we talked about earlier. If it's less than 10 days, you want to score it. If it's 2 to 3 weeks, if it's 30 days or longer. So this one, it is about a week and a half, 2 weeks. So I'm gonna score it at about 4. Do you have the required past performance? This is a product. So assuming that past performance is not required, not a big deal. So I'm gonna score 9. Are you known by the client, right? Do you have a previous knowledge of who they are? Have you been engaging them? Do they know who you are? Relationship is very important. So nope. I know the agency, it's on my Dream 100, but I haven't engaged them at all, so it might be a 3. Now, if you talk to them, you have a relationship, it might be a 10. Next question, what is your overall technical capability or position here? Are you qualified technically? And so not qualified, weak, experienced, capable, you understand the problem, and you have some experience, or can you meet or exceed all the requirements, and are you technically superior than everybody else? So maybe this is a product, so maybe in this situation is not that critical. Can you provide proof of qualified staff? This is a product, we have the access to the product, so not that critical. But for some of you who are in service, I'm doing this here for Chris because they sell products. And so for some of you, if it's a service, you want to answer accordingly. Are subcontractors needed? In this situation, they're the distributor, so you will need a manufacturer in this situation. So manufacturer is going to greatly enhance your chance of winning. So instead of subcontractor, if you're selling products, this would be, you substitute this here with manufacturer. What is your financial position? It's a competitive world, so pricing is going to be tight. So your margins and long-term financial potential for this here is marginal, so maybe a 4. Can you respond with a complete and compelling proposal? Many of you, you're new, so it might be a 1 or a 2 for this year, because it's just a pricing proposal. It's just price, it's a quote. So we're going to score higher. Who are our competitor? We don't know, so we might be at a 2 because we haven't tracked this year. And then what is your pricing competitiveness? Can you be price competitive on this year? And not really, because we're not the manufacturer, we're a distributor, and so we're not really competitive. So here, our overall score is 57, moderate chance of success. Now, before this software used to say, don't bid on it, right? but we took that off because we can't really tell you what to bid, what not to bid. And so we start off by low chance of success, moderate chance of success, and great chance of success. So those have become more of the factors now. So if you like that, hit submit. If we did that, hit submit. Now this project is over here. It's in our scoping now. And we're scoping it because now we're going to actually put together a proposal. So if we'll put together a proposal, it's going to go to the drafting stage. And then when we submit it, it's going to go to the submittal. So I'm going to go ahead and drag this here to the drafting stage. I'm going to start putting my pricing together. So I'm going to click on this here. And I'm going to come down here, assuming that my potential value, this is my pricing. Let's assume that this is $500,000 potential. I'm going to type that in. So now it's going to say 500,000. And then if I go back to my bid board now, it says, okay, my pipeline is about $500,000 now. If I want to review all my pipeline in one place, I can click here and review all of my pipeline, which stage each one is at. Kind of see at the evaluating, I got 2 projects here. At the scoping, I got 1. Drafting the proposal, I got 1. And so this is a quick view of that. So this is how you do the go or no go. This is a better way than using the Excel sheet. Now, for some of you, and you want to go do it the old school way, then do the Excel sheet. And then download the Excel sheet and use it here. It takes you through very similar question. We kind of narrowed down to 10 on the software, but go through these 12 questions here. I'll show you how to access this Excel sheet later on at the end of class. We'll make this PowerPoint available to you if you want to review it. So let's continue here. So let's talk about your, so I'm gonna ask Karen to kind of chime in here. We've talked about go or no go, and Karen, you've done a lot of different work in the government space. Can you chime in and just kind of share your overall experience, how you got started? I'll take about 5 minutes to kind of share your experience in the government market with everybody. And if your camera's on, it would be great to have your camera. So everybody can connect with you a little bit.
You're putting me on the spot here, Abraham. Hold on, let me put my camera on.
I prepped you earlier.
You did indeed. So, but it was still, hold on, let me put my camera. All right, can everyone see me?
Yep,
there I am.
I can see you.
Yeah, so it's interesting because, SJ has been in the 8A program since really for the last 9 years. And then we got another year because of the extension. So we're at the point where we're, being competitive, bidding on things, and the go, no go process is, as you mentioned before, there's a lot of different decision points you have to go through. And some of it is intuitive and some of it is just, you learn lessons the hard way, right? Like you take a shot at certain agencies and then you learn what they're looking for and what they're not looking for. And you decide, okay, that's not where I'm going to focus. But, we've over the last couple of years, actually, we've been really trying to focus on how we want to hone in on that process. And software is very helpful with that because it helps you do things faster. It automates the decision-making process, and it also helps your team kind of guides those questions so that if you have new people coming on board, it allows them to go through that thought process. But I think one of the major things is understanding, what your company is really good at and where you want to, what your target customer is. And I think those are two key things that we've really honed in on over the last few years, right? So anytime you get past performance, you really want to capitalize on that and continue to take that to either other agencies or continue to expand in the agency that you're in. So you get that momentum.
Yeah, so thanks for sharing that. And then what are some mistakes that you made and some tips you want to share with everybody?
Oh, Lord. Oh, I can't do that in 5 minutes. Mistakes are interesting. We've purposely, as we've gotten into the competitive world, and I don't know how many 8A companies we have on this call. I have a lot of 8A mistakes I can share, and I'd be happy to talk to anyone, just to kind of go through that. But a lot of times we throw things out there to gather information, right? It's all about access and information and understanding, what information you don't have and then trying to go find it. So, for example, and Patrick, my COO, is on the call. A lot of the bids that we put out recently is almost like a fishing exercise to see what agencies, like how they work and what they're looking for, and what kind of information we can get from putting bids out there, and taking that information and making decisions on, okay, are we going to continue trying to pursue this new agency that we're not in, or pull back and, focus over here. So mistakes like that, which are, we call them mistakes, but there are ways to get access and information to learn from them. Mm-hmm. So every loss, there should be some really good, data that you can pull from and apply it to, okay, how do we want to position ourselves and what do we want to do next? We try and turn that into something positive, because, you're gonna, Abraham, what's the percentage, right? Like, so what's the,
1 out of 22.
Okay.
1 out of 22 for small business, they win 1 out of 22 proposals that they submit.
Okay, so that's painful. So you're getting kicked in the teeth 22 times before you win. So you really gotta be able to take that and, stomach it, but also use every one of those losses as an opportunity to learn from it and apply it to how you're going to win. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, the good news to that is those that go through a training program like this, sir, our experience with our members and the companies that go through a training program like this, sir, our experience is they win 1 out of 7. So greatly reducing if you're just like randomly, no training, nothing, and you're just jumping out there and you're like trying to figure it out, you're going to be hurting for a little bit and some. But, Karen is absolutely right. There's a technique that I'm going to be sharing with you guys later on about getting a debrief, what to do when you lose, right? And so we'll talk about that, and we'll look at some examples of that in a second. So thanks for sharing, Karen. Appreciate it.
Yep. Happy to.
All right, so let's continue with
I'm going to give Karen 1,000 points for that.
Yes, 1,000 points for Karen.
Now you can take those 1,000 points to Starbucks, and for $7 you can get a small coffee.
There you go. I was going to say, Guy, I'm on the board. I'm excited about that. Thank you. I have many more painful lessons learned. So.
All right, so let's talk about price costs, and we're going to look at some examples. I'm going to show you how to look at your competitors' pricing so that you can legally spy on your competitors. We're going to look at some blended rate pricing strategies. This video here, I'm not going to play the video, but I'm going to look at the document and talk you through that there. And REA, request for equitable adjustment. And this is actually a newer terminology for me. And so Chris and I, we were actually looking at this together, because in his world, commodity price changes so much. And so he actually reached out to a contracting officer or the agency say, hey, what happens if we submit this here and the price goes up because of market condition? And so you can do a request for equitable adjustment if you submit it, and there's a few factors to why you can do that there. And so read through this here. I'm not going to cover this here, but read through this article. It talks about it, and then actually go to the FAR clauses that actually talks about it. So you can kind of learn more about this. So what happens if you submit a proposal and you end up not making a profit? In those type of situation, you have to inform the contracting officer, because if you're going to lose money, that means the project is at risk. It's no fault to you. Now, if you just bid on it and you price incorrectly, that's your fault. But if you priced it properly and there's some market condition or something happened outside of your control, and the contract is at risk, then you can go to the contractor officer and do a REA. So that is available. And then we're going to look at some GSA rates as well. So let's go to GSA Advantage first. And so we're going to go here and we're going to do some pricing, looking into your competitors and see what they look like. Some of you, if you're new and you're not familiar with GSA is the General Service Administration. You can kind of, for a few of you, I wouldn't say start with GSA, but for some of you, if you're a mature business, you've been around for a while, then getting your GSA multiple award schedule or GSA schedule itself is a great place to start. But if you're brand new, don't do your GSA schedule yet because you don't have pricing history, and there's lots of pitfall with GSA schedules. And so if you're new, this is not a tier 1 strategy. This is more of a tier 3, tier 4 strategy. But we want to use this here to look at pricing, because in every business that has a GSA schedule, most of the pricing are listed here, depending on the industry and so forth. So let's take anybody wants to give us a keyword so that we can look up. What is it?
BOSMA, BOSMA.
BOSMA? I have no idea what that is. What is BOSMA?
Those are gloves.
Gloves, okay. All right. So BOSMA Enterprise. And so there's the manufacturer is BOSMA. Now, if you look at this here, there's different companies, right, that sells this here. So, and so if I look at this here, what you want to do is you want to click on one of these here to see who the company is, and sold and shipped by communications professionals. So the company is this here. They sell this here. And so you want to compare the manufacturer parts, make sure that your item number is exactly your competitor's item number as you're comparing these prices here. And then you want to look at the pricing down here. So you got this company, they're selling it at $10.58. This company is selling at $11.30. And this company is selling at $90. So this is box, and this is a box. And so now what you want to do is you want to compare, make sure that it's product for product, item for item, right? Because there's no way it can go from 11 to 90.
It's the same company.
Yep. And so you want to investigate a little bit deeper. Now, chances are that these two products are the same between this company and this company. The manufacturer is BOSMA, but the reseller to the government is WESIS, and Communications Professional. So study your competitors this way here and see how many are selling the same product. Now, George, where does your pricing fall? Is it higher than $10 each box, or is it lower than these prices here? Your price to the government, is it higher or lower than these two prices?
It's about the same price. It runs about $13 a box.
Okay, so that's suggested retail price.
Right.
Okay, what, in your mind, what is the price that you intend to sell it to the government?
At just under 1058.
Yes, you want to sell it 1057.
Right.
Because if you're new in the government market, you're not going after profit, right? You're going after getting things sold. And so if you look at this here and you compare item for item, there's only 3 companies selling this product here. Then you want to sell it for 1057.
Abe, can I add something?
Uh-huh.
The other trick, the reason why I chose Bosma, I contracted with them already, so I've got them up my sleeve. And one of the things I plan to do is get on GSA. And here's why. You see where it shows socio in that area, that column to the right.
Right here.
Yeah, right there. If you click on any one of those, you see that it's those are the socioeconomic categories. Every Bosma company or every company I've seen sell Bosma on GSA Advantage doesn't have an SDVOSB. SDVOSBs carry a benefit to the fact that the purchase cards that they have, for example, the VA is designed to buy from service disabled veteran-owned businesses first under the Vets First program. So I would be very competitive in this market.
Now, yes, and so that's good. So we talked about getting your GSA schedule in the near future. So as soon as you start getting some pricing history, now you don't want to get it too soon, also, right? Because if you're selling it at 1057, that means you're limiting your profit margin. So if your goal is to get your GSA schedule in the near future, then you might want to sell it more like $11.29. You might want to be on the higher side so that you have more profit margins long term. So it depends, right? It depends on if you're just trying to get your foot in the door, then sell it for $10.57. If you're saying, hey, I'm planning to sell to get my GSA schedule, then you want to be at the higher rate so that you can establish your GSA rate. Now, once you establish your GSA rate, you can always sell lower than that, but you can never sell higher than that. So for example, communications professionals, they can never sell this box of glove higher than $10.58. Now, there is an annual adjustment, and that's typically about 2.5%, 3%. So that's the only reason why it can go up. Or if the market really changes, and like gloves, right? Market conditions can really change, and then you can reach out to your GSA support and ask for price adjustment. But usually these are locked in for 5 years, and with a 2.5%, 3% annual increase. So make sure you have the proper strategy before you go after your GSA schedule. All right, so this is an example. So let's look at some services. And anybody want to give us a service?
Before you do that, Abe, there's an interesting point here. This is gloves. Look at the name of this company.
Yes.
They have taken the principle that you teach of being a generalist, and probably when COVID hit, they said, hey, there's an opportunity here. And they already probably had a GSA schedule, and they said, let's throw something on there, and if we get an order, we get an order. Yes,
very good point, Guy. Part of the whole class here, right? We teach you that government contracting is not about doing the work, it's about winning the work. Lots of people can do the work. And so if you go to the website, you look at this here, they're in hotels and gaming, small business, government. It looks like they're an IT company, but I'm not even sure what they are. But based upon their business name, they're a telecommunication company, right? If you look at just the name itself, and then you come in here and click on services. Now, if I'm the government, I'm a little leery doing business with them because they're an IT company, but their website is not secure, right? So they're not even securing the website. So they need to talk to Ken and get their website secured. If they're, so this company, they're just a contracting company. And how can you talk about HIPAA compliance when your website is not even secure, right? Because and so there's a few holes with this company and what they're doing. Getting your website secured is like $5, $10 a month. If you buy a security SSL certificate to it, but that's another point. So, but the point is, this company saw an opportunity. They say, hey, we're in communications IT. The government needs PPEs. We're going to sell some PPEs. Now, I don't necessarily recommend that for all of you, because you want to stay with what you're good at. Get going first, and then at some point expand down the road. So don't start off by saying, hey, I do computer services and I do funeral services, right? Don't do that. They're going to look at you crazy, and if you don't message correctly, that can be a turn off also. So make sure you have the right messaging as you expand here. All right, so we're looking at services. So volunteer.
Do help desk, Abraham.
Help desk, okay. All right, so help desk, and so all these companies here, I'm just Maury and Associate, and I'm going to just randomly choose one. So I'm just going to choose this company here. And I'm going to look at their GSA schedule and their rates here. Now, sometimes GSA schedule is called Federal Supply Schedule. And then the VA has a VA supply schedule as well. So I come here, you see this here, their contract, their GSA ends on June of this year. So they've had it for 5 years. So it's going to end at the end of this year here. If you scroll down, and let's go down to the pricing. So let me go down to help desk. Where is their help desk? Right here. So their help desk, they have a coordinator, and then they have a manager. And they have a tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. So tier 3 is higher than even the desk manager. Wonder why the help desk coordinator is lower than I guess, this person is very technical, that's why. So your tier 3 support, you're really technical. You really understand some deep level of IT and so forth, whatever the type of IT support is. All right, so how does these prices compare to your pricing? Who was that asked us to do this here? Are you higher or lower than these IT? How's your tier 1? How's your tier 3? Are you higher or lower?
I would say that's in line with where we are.
Okay.
I don't exactly know, but I think it's not grossly off.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's good to know. And now,
by the way.
Oh, okay. Stacy, how are you guys looking in terms of, have you guys got any high help desk rates? Have you done help desk before?
Yes, I do. I've done a lot of help desk, but that was a while ago, Abraham. Right now, I'm more into architects and things of that nature, systems engineers, developers.
All right, so let's go up here and let's look at some. Let's see here.
Can you go back up to the program manager?
Sure.
Right there.
All right, so program manager, there's 3 levels that they have rates here. 188 at the level 3 and 140 at the level 1. So this is a very good rates here, because these are very, very profitable rates here. Because generally they're, if you're over the 150.
Which year is that?
This is year 2017, so we're really at year 2022, so 151 and 204 here.
This is interesting. I was just talking about pay rates today for some program managers for the Air Force.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe like the highest rate we had was like 110.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been a struggle to find. I was telling them today they want this Cadillac type of person, but we're still at escort level prices at this point. So
yeah. And so that's why we're going through this pricing exercise, right? You want to look at your competitors and see what rates that they have and what your rates are. And then you need to talk to your GSA and rep and say, hey, this is the going rate here. We need to increase because we can't put people on for these rates here.
And that's
I'm not a GSA expert. What was that, Dan?
Rates to charge, not rates to pay.
Yes.
So you charge 204, but you're only going to pay that person, like she says, 110-ish because you got other underneath expenses.
Yeah. So we're going to break down that a little bit. So this is not the rate you pay your staff. This is the rate you bill the government. And we'll go into that when we break down the pricing in a little bit here. So this is your billable rate to the government. So this is one company, right? And there's many other companies. So that was Maury. We can go into Avatar Computing and look at their rates. And so help desk, 44. Level 2 is 55. Level 3 is 71. You see how much lower these guys are compared to these folks here. You look at the help desk, their tier 1 is 71, and this company here, their tier 3 is 71. So they're way lower than the other company. I said earlier that before you get your GSA schedule and establish your fixed rate with the government, you want to make sure that you establish a higher pricing model in the commercial market, because once you're locked in, it's extremely hard to change your pricing. And and Sharon or Karen, you're experiencing that a little bit in terms of, okay, hey, the market is higher, but my race is lower, and I can't get the type of level of skill set that, because right now the labor market is a lot more competitive now than it has been 2-3 years ago. So keep all those things in mind as you're establishing your pricing model. And there are hundreds and hundreds of companies that have their pricing out like this here. Now I'm going to go to the GSA calculator website, and this makes it a little bit easier instead of searching company by company like this here. So this, you want to go here, go to the calc.gsa.gov and put your, I'm going to put this here in the chat area. So now if you're on here, I'm going to go through 1 or 2 examples, but feel free to take the link on the chat that I put in there and do your own pricing research. So let's come in here and let's use what we looked at earlier, help desk. And so help desk, there's 220 companies that have this help desk labor category. And it goes anywhere from $12. I don't know. Oh no, that's the standard deviation. It goes from $28. I don't know how you get a help desk support for $28, all the way to someone has got $956. I don't know how help desk can be. I guess there might be some really rare niche market. Some this might be Satoshi Nakamoto, who created Bitcoin, and he's billing the government at $956. If you are the only person that knows a certain software or something, you can bill the government whatever you want. But the average is 77. So the rate of the help desk tier 3 that we looked at, tier 1 is average here, because I think it was 71 or something like that. So it's kind of in the average range. But use this here and download the graph. You can export it as a CSV file. That way you can manipulate the data a little bit more and see who your competitors are. So if you come on here, look at, these are your competitors, and these are their category, title, and the education, and so obviously high school, help desk entry level high school is $29. It's going to be the lower end side of it. Bachelor, some of these rates are, I don't believe they're going to be profitable or they can make money at all in the government market, because the rates are just too low. You can see it starts all the way from 27 all the way to, let's see who's selling for $900. I want to see this company that's selling for $955. Okay, so ICO here. ICO here. Never heard of this company. Virtual attendee help. How are you going to build a government 900 and it's just virtual too? T14. I'm not familiar with T14. 24-hour virtual attendee help desk. Okay, so this is intriguing. So I'm gonna look at this company here. Let's dig a little deeper here. So we're doing some benchmarking here. So I'm gonna go to USA spending to see, have they sold anything to the government at these crazy prices? I'm gonna take out Inc. and search here. Okay, they won 11 projects. Let's see if it's anytime recent. Okay, so yeah, not much. 40,000, 88,000, 125,000. So at these rates here, the government says we're only going to buy if we absolutely need to. So if they're not in the millions of dollars, that means they still haven't really figured out how to do government contracting work. For IT company, $125,000. This is not even at $955 an hour, and your max year is 125. That means you're not placing a full-time person, one help desk person. 2,000 hours times 950. You're talking about a lot of money, and so. So, any questions about pricing? At least these two methods here, because we got lots more to cover. So let's continue. So let's talk about the structure of your cost model here. All right. For service-related products, service-related companies, you want to pay attention to this pricing cost model here. So you're going to hear the term direct costs. You're going to hear the term indirect costs. And so when you hear the terms direct, indirect, this is what it's talking about. Direct costs is, let's assume you want a contract, and let's call that job 1, job 2, job 3. So any person, direct costs tied to direct labor or direct material or other direct costs. It could be a fee or equipment rental tied to that specific project. Like if you are in construction and you have to rent a bobcat or rent a dredging equipment directly tied to that, specific for that project. So that's treated as direct costs. Your indirect costs, there's 3 main areas of indirect costs here. You have your payroll overhead, and so this is a percentage of your direct labor. And then you have your offsite overhead, your onsite overhead. If you are offsite, onsite means this here. And different industries slightly different, but for let's use IT as an example. On-site means that your person that you hire to work for a project is on location with the government. And so the on-site overhead is different because you don't have to provide them an office, you don't have to provide them a desk, you don't have to provide them a laptop, because all of that, usually if your employee is on working on a government project on site in an IT environment on a government facility, all of that overhead is on the government. So that means your on-site overhead is lower, right, to you. Now, if they're off-site with you, that means you have to provide them, air conditioning, you have to provide them keys, you have to manage them, and your overhead is different. But all these are your indirect costs. And then your G&A, this is the percentage of cost that's tied to you having to have a office space, you having to have an accountant, a law firm representing you, your tax burden, anything that you have as a company to make sure that the business runs is your G&A. Sometimes they call it G&A, right? It's your sales team also is part of your G&A. And so your general, your administrative costs, your overhead, sometimes we call this your overhead. Now, because your overhead can be very general terms. So, but G&A is more specific to your overhead itself. So this is how it breaks down. So let's look at a specific example of how that looks like. So in this here, I put together, there's this document here. I'm gonna pull up this here. I'm gonna use a very simple example so everybody understands this here. And then I'm gonna take a look at a more crazier example, more robust example. So let's start with this very simple example here. And I'm gonna zoom in here so everybody can kind of see. So the premise of this here is it's a product company, and they sell t-shirts. You can substitute gloves, you can substitute any products in here, and then services, you can substitute it down here, but follow the example here. So your CLIN or your CLIN number, 10 points if you know what CLIN stands for. Any or guesses? Anybody have a good guess?
It's oh gosh.
I'm new to the group.
What was that?
Contract line item?
Contract line item, I thought it was cost line item. Cost line item number. Maybe somebody check it. So contract line item number or cost line item number. I can't remember directly. There's too many governors to remember.
I think it's contract, Abraham.
It's contract, okay.
I believe so.
All right, so contract line item number. And so this is your number. Row 4 here, line item number 1 here is t-shirt small, t-shirt medium, large, extra large, extra, and so forth. The government wants 1,000 of these here. Let me zoom in a little bit more so you guys can see. So the government wants 1,000 of these here. So that's per unit. And your direct costs, your cost from the manufacturer is $5.15. Now your fringe cost, there is no fringe cost for you because there's no health, no insurance, no benefits involved with the t-shirt because that's just a product. So you can't charge a government fringe. And so, but you do have overhead. And so your overhead is $9.93 here. And then that brings your subtotal $5.15 plus your overhead to $93,608. You add in your G&A, which is 73 cents. So that's 12%, 73 cents here. That takes your total cost of $6.81. Then you add your profit into it. So your profit is 48 cents, 7%. You say, hey, on this year, after all my expenses, after I pay my office, I pay all my office space, my people, insurance, everything, I want to make a profit of 7%. So that's 48 cents. So that tells you add up all of this here, your total selling price of this t-shirt to the government is $7.28. Now, I'm going to give you a general sense of what the government normally wants your profit margins to be. They generally, what's considered normal and acceptable to the government is 7 to 10, 12%. If it's within that range in terms of your net profit, it's very acceptable to the government. Now, some industries, if you are a high tech, like blockchain technology or cybersecurity, and very few people have capabilities and so forth, your profit margin may be a lot higher than that. So keep that in mind. If you're in high risk, like asbestos remediation, your profit margin is going to be higher because your risk is higher. If you're in very standard industry, like t-shirt, like this here, you don't want a 80% profit margin here, because the government's going to say, hey, how in the world is a t-shirt and you're going to make a 200% profit margin? They're going to say you're price gouging the government, and it's going to come back and bite you. But so normal, 7, 12% is normal. Again, some industry can be higher. So let's look at some other areas down here, right? So let's look at van deliveries. Whether it's the, you can use a trucking company, you can use, Uber delivery. It doesn't matter how you deliver it. Let's assume there's a delivery cost. And this is each delivery, each van delivery is $300. Again, no fringe costs. Your overhead is 54, your subtotal, your 12% G&A, and then you add your G&A, you add your profit margin. So now your total price, your price that it costs you is $300. Your price that you bill the government for that delivery is $423.23 cents. So if you add up all of this here, right now, if you are products only, so you add up these three only, so that comes out to 37%. This is in under normal situation. If your markup, if your margins is not 35% or higher, you're not going to be profitable in the government space, because we're looking at only a 7% profit margin here. So if you're going to the manufacturer and you're saying, hey, I need to negotiate my pricing with you, and the manufacturer says, I want you to sell my products, and your margins, your profit margin, your total overall margin is not 35 or 30, in this situation 37, then you're not going to be profitable in the government market. Now, your markup is different from your profit margin. Your markup is different from your profit margin. So let's talk about what I mean by that. These are your margins here. The rate that you add on top of this cost here. To determine what your markup is, so we take the 728 minus the 515. So let me pull up my calculator here. Now, as I'm going through this here, if you feel a little bit lost, that's fine, because you want to see this here a few times, and we do have the recording here. So if I'm covering it and you're not 100% following it, feel free to reach out to me. Be more than happy to talk to your business and your pricing strategy and so forth, or watch the replay. So I'm going to take the 7.28 minus the 5.15. So my markup is $2.13, right? So I marked it up from $5 to $2.13. So if I divide that by, I believe this is how I do it here. So my markup, my markup is 41%. So if you're negotiating, like in your situation, George, right, you're selling products, and you're going to a PPE, a glove company, and say, hey, I need a markup of 41%. That means ultimately your profit is going to be 7%.
Mhm.
Because the 37% is the margins that you add on top of it, but in terms of your markup is 41%. So let's continue to look at these other items. Let's get into a service item down here. So, and we'll look at some more elaborate ones.
Hey, Abe,
So, yeah.
couple of quick things. One is it is contract line item number.
Okay.
And so Stacy got 10 points for that. And then the second
Hey,
one
excuse me,
is.
guys, that wasn't me.
That
I
was
think
that
it
was Karen.
Teresa.
Oh,
Karen
Karen,
gets
okay, you
1,000.
get another 1,000 points, Karen. And since you're not in the class, your points don't matter. You can have 1,000,000 if you want. And we had a question. Is that pyramid that you showed with the breakdown of the direct costs and indirect costs, is that in any of the slides or any of the presentations in the Gov Fast Track?
It may not be. I may have put in there, but I looked for it earlier and I didn't see it, and so it will be in the slides that is here today. So all of you who are in class, you'll get a copy of the slides today.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. And there's actually an article. It's a more in detail article here. So I'll make these available to you guys also. So that goes into more details than what I'm able to cover today in class because time is more limited here.
You rock.
All right, so we were at our Excel sheet here. So let's come back here. So referees, so now we're getting to labor, right? So referees for the game, it's 1,000 hours. That's going to be, now keep in mind 1,000 hours, it could be 10 referees that make up the 1,000 hours. It could be one referee that does it for the whole year at about 20 hours a week that comes out to 1,000 hours for the year. Doesn't matter. And this is a very simplified example here. So don't worry too much about how we get to the 1,000 hours, whether it's 1,000, whether it's 10 people, 100 hours, or it doesn't matter. But total 1,000 hours that's billable to the government. Your cost to the referee per hour is $50 per hour. You have to pay fringe benefits to anything that's labor or personnel related. So your fringe benefits is 30%. So that's $15. Now your fringe is anywhere from 30 to 35% for most companies. Again, it depends on your industries. Some industry you have to provide them more type of benefits. In some industry, you can get away with 30. 30, I think, is on the lower side. I believe it's more like 35% for most industries. So keep in mind that you gotta pay, benefits to your employees or to the people working. Health and welfare and so forth. All right, so your overhead is $9. That's again 18%. Now, to determine your overhead, it's unique to every single industry, and like your G&A, right? It's unique to your specific situation and your industry. So there's the overall industry general average, and then there's your specific company's G&A. If you're not sure, right, just do a Google in terms of your industry. Just put average G&A for a cybersecurity company, average, for a manufacturing company in whatever industry you're in, and you'll get a rough idea. But ultimately, it comes down to your company, your specific rates itself. So don't worry about the average. Use that as a general guidance so that you can understand how to be competitive. but you yourself, like some of you, you have no office space. You're brand new, no office space, so your G&A is going to be a little bit lower than somebody that actually have a physical office space selling the same product or service. And then, and so now what we pay our employee is $50 an hour. If we look at the billable rate, let me highlight this here. We look at the billable rate, it's $88.68. You guys see that?
Yeah.
We bill the government $88 and we pay our employees $50. So when we were looking at the GSA rates earlier, like $200 an hour, that's not what you pay your employees. And so if we take our calculator and if we do the math, it's going to be very similar how we did the earlier amount, but because of the fringe, this extra 30%, this $15 here, it's going to make a big difference in terms of your pricing. Billable rate versus employee rate. Any questions about this? We're going to look at a more robust example here. Any, and then we're going to look at a blended rate approach also, because that's important. Especially if you're new in the government market, you need to figure out a blended rate. Your blended rate is going to, let's look at the blended rate here. So there's another, I think I have another blended rate example too, but let's start with this one here. So you have a partner, this is for a CPA firm, a partner, a audit manager, senior auditor, finance, financial analyst, and staff auditor. And the percentage of work is, the partner is only gonna work 5%. The audit manager is, or percentage of work is 10, 30, 15, and so forth. Total hours is 100 hours. Your hourly rate, the partner level is $330 an hour. So at the 5% of the 100%, that's going to come out to this amount here, right? So assuming that we put in 100 hours for a project to be complete, and each person in the company is going to touch that project based upon this percentage of work, that's going to take us to our blended rate of 173 an hour. Some project, all they want is your blended rate. They just want your one rate. Doesn't matter how many people you put on there. And so by using this here as an example, you can get to one final number to submit as your one price to the government. Now, the government is not going to ask you to create a blended rate. They're not going to ask you how many people is going to do what. Sometimes they do, but you use this here as an example to get to that blended rate so that you can give them a one rate for that specific contract that you're pursuing. Let's look at another example here. I have another blended rate. Okay, yeah, I think it's this one here. Okay, so this is for a different type of industry. This is for, I think this example, I did this one here based upon a flooring, janitorial flooring company. So they want you to do 20,000 square feet of office space, and you're billing the government at your cost is 21 cents per square foot. Your billable rate comes out to, and this is simplifying, we're not putting in any other cost, right? Because assuming that 21 cents is your fully burdened rate, meaning it has your G&A, your overhead, your profit margin, everything is loaded into this 21 cents here. So I'm making that assumption here for simplicity. So you have 3 projects, and one project, you're charging 21 cents, another project you're charging 18 cents, and another project you're charging 22 cents. Let's assume that this for agency B, because it's more competitive, and you're saying, hey, I want to win that project. So you lower your pricing by about 3 cents per square foot, but it's not necessarily, you're not making profit, because as a business, you're not a one project company, right? You have 3 projects here. You win 3 projects, your overall blended rate is going to be 30%. Because one project, your average margin is 27%, another project is 31%, another project is 33%. So you take all of that, and that gives you a 30% blended rate. And that's really, as a company, what you want to look at is your overall blended rate. Because your overhead stays the same. So whether you are, your manager, your time, your supervisor, your office space, all those are fixed rate. And so if you're not out there working and you're not putting things, putting your people to work, your overhead is killing you. So you have to get some lower price project and be more competitive on some projects so that you can cover your overhead. So part of it is to just cover your overhead. And by doing that, you get a blended rate and potentially better profit margins overall as a company. Assuming that your ideal profit is 30%. And we're talking about here like more like gross profit, not necessarily net profit here. And your ideal base rate is 20 cents. By doing a different pricing here, if you have a good relationship with the agency and it's a sole source contract, you do 22 cents so that your margins can be higher. If you're bidding against 20 other companies, you might go 18 cents. So another technique, right? This is just an example of a technique for, and this is true for service, product, or anything. Look at how you're gonna compete on that specific opportunity there and adjust your strategy accordingly. Any questions about the blended rate there? Let's look at, let's see if I can find a more robust example here.
Yeah. You had a site where if you wanted to look up the federal labor rate, what site was that?
I don't remember, but yeah, if I don't remember it off the top of my head.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm on that contract that I was talking to you about. It's for training the Marine Corps in CPR and AED. So it falls under medical training, and the staff that's going to be there are, like I said, Michaela Medical. So I'm just wondering if the federal government has a labor rate for those folks, because it would differ.
Well, so if it falls under, George, you're frozen. If it falls under Davis-Bacon rates, if it falls under, or you can use GSA rates that we looked at earlier, the calc.gsa.gov. You can use that site, and you can also use so if it's anything that falls under Davis-Bacon rates, then you can use those rates as a benchmark. So this here is a different look, a different view of how to price your labor hours here. So employee 1, employee 2, you put in your fringe benefits, you put in your direct costs or your other direct costs, and then your direct costs. So this is another look at it, but I want to find another one that goes into more details. There's another one in here. this is an example for an IT company. I mean, not IT, but janitor company. So you have your labor, your, this is your fringe here, your labor burden here is your fringe. And then you add all of your supplies and uniforms here. And then all of your costs in terms of products and equipment and so forth is down here. And so, and if you are like, if you're a janitor company, you want to, this is not necessarily, if you want to copy this, just let me know. I'll get you a copy of some of these specific things, for each one of you that is in a different industry. But I want to find another one that I want to look at. Nope, not that one. Yeah, this is too robust because it includes DCAA, not that one. That's too robust for today's example here. Where is that document? I can't find the one I'm looking for. Yeah, this is a courier. And this is a whole. I can't find the other one that I'm looking at, that I want to look at. And usually it's in this folder here, so I'm not sure where it's at. So, but you guys get the idea. So this is the most simple approach, and you can determine your pricing from this here. This captures everything that you need to capture. Now let's talk about labor hours for IT or for some industries. Who knows this here? How many federal holidays are out there? How many federal holidays?
Was it 10?
Good guess. It's gone up.
It's 11.
Yeah, it's 11 now.
Oh.
So I'm gonna bring up my
Juneteenth
calculator.
is the new one, right?
Excuse me?
Juneteenth, I think, is the new one.
Yeah, that's the new one here. So let me bring up my calculator and come on. So 2080 is a standard 40 hours a week times 52 weeks, right? So if this is your standard 52 weeks, when you are, and this is very important what I'm about to share here. So if you're distracted, make sure you're paying attention, because if you miss this part here, you can completely destroy your profit margin. You might even lose money. So 2,080 hours, 40 hours a week times 52 weeks, that's standard normal hours. This is what you are on the hook for. To your employees, you have to pay your employees 2,080 hours when they work with you, considered full-time. But this is not where you can bill the government. So we talked about your billable rates earlier. That's only tied to the hours that you can actually bill the government. And there's a few other factors, right? We talked about the fringe side of things, right? And fringe goes into insurance, goes into holiday pay, goes into all these other things here. So we want to take all that into consideration. So this is how you figure it out. 2,080 hours. We got to minus, generally most agency assume that you have 2 weeks of vacation for your employees. Some, they actually mandate that you have 3 weeks, but let's go with 2 weeks. And so that's minus 80 hours, because that's 2 weeks of time that you're not actually paying. You can't bill the government for the 2 weeks vacation. You still have to pay your employees for the 2 weeks. So that's where that margins come in, right? That 30%, that 35% I was telling you earlier. So that's 2 weeks of vacation. Then you got 11 federal holidays that the federal government does not work unless it's essential industries. But 11 holiday or 11 federal holiday, you cannot bill the government for those days. So you got to take 40 hours times 11. So what is that there? 10 hours is 400, right? 10 hours times 40. That's 400. So plus another 40 hours. So that's 440. So we're going to minus 440. No, that's incorrect. Help me out with here. Let's do.
So I think, Gabe, I think it's 88 hours for holidays.
Oh, times 8 hours.
And
my bad.
80 hours for vacation.
168.
Yep, you're right. 88. So let me go back here.
You might end up with 1,912 that you can bill the government. And from
That's
that,
correct.
and from that, you
That's
need
correct.
to get enough money to pay 2,080 hours worth of work for every.
Yeah, I want to go through it line by line. So Dan, walk with me here. So 2,080 hours minus 80 hours, which is 2 weeks vacation.
Yep.
Minus 88 hours, which is the 11 federal holidays, because it's 8 hours a day.
Right.
And then, so that takes you to 1912.
So for instance, yeah, put that in the memory and I'll show you something. I'll show you the trick.
Okay.
So just for keep the numbers right, let's say you wanted to pay someone $100 an hour.
Okay.
And in addition to that, when you figure all your rates and G&A and other thing, you had another $30 an hour that you're going to bill the government. And I'm just making these numbers up to keep it even.
Yeah.
So whatever 2,080 times 130 is that $270,000, 270,400, something like that.
Yes. So let's actually use that as an example here. So I'm gonna for simplicity, I'm gonna go ahead and change this here to your billable hours.
Mhm.
And this is your cost to employees, employee hours. And so we're going to break it down so that you guys understand this point here, because if you don't get this point, it can really hurt you. And I'm going to highlight just these 2 columns so it stands up for everybody. So what you can bill the government is 1912 hours. And what you have to pay your employee is 2,080 hours. And I'm going to make the rate here the same.
100.
Okay, yeah, your example is 100. So easy math here, 100 here. So if you're paying your employees 100 an hour, you're billing the government 912. But in reality, you have to pay employees 2,080 hours because of all the other items. If you look at this here, you see that the number starts to not add up. You're billing the government 339,000, but you're on the hook to your employees at 368.
Yep. So from the amount of money that you bill on line 10, you need to get enough money to pay the charges that you see on you now see on line 11. Because Abe's exactly right. You can only bill the government for an hour actually worked.
So if this is reality, then what you need to do is you need to increase your fringe, because that's really what the price difference is. So your fringe needs to go up higher, and I'm gonna do the formula different here. So I'm gonna put one fringe at 30% and the other fringe at 35% here. So I'm gonna change the formula down so we kind of get to the equivalent here. So it's This here is F9. And this is F8.
That works out? I thought the hours was lines 10 and 11.
Oh, I'm doing the percentage here. I'm because what I want to do is I want to change the the percentage here. So this is tied to this here, and this one's tied to this one here. So I want to get them to equal, right? So I actually need to increase this here to 40%. Oh no, that's increasing it higher. I need to reduce, so it's actually the opposite.
Mm-hmm.
I have to reverse it differently. But this gives us the difference, and my formula here we'll figure out the difference in a second here. So it's really a 10% difference between the two. So I need to be able to, if I'm billing the government at 177 an hour, and that means I need to increase my fringe by 10% to get to equal amount here. So it's actually, let me get down to like 19, maybe that will be closer. 18%. Yeah, so that's about equal. So I'm 12%. So I need to capture 12%. If I don't bill the government appropriately, I'm actually losing 12%. And remember, your profit margin is only 7%, so you actually end up losing 5% of profit. So you're not making any profit. So there's a 12% difference between what you're billing the government and what you have to pay your employees. So to get to the same amount, where you're billing the government, you're paying your employee the same, you have to increase your rates or pay your employee less than 12% less, so that you can actually come out equal. All right, so let's continue. A few other things to cover. Any other questions?
Yes, hi Abraham. That was fascinating. I've never gone through that process before. Will you be sharing an example or will a slide have an example that we could? And I'm not a pricing specialist, but it's really good that I have the picture. Will you be sharing that in the notes?
Oh yeah, I'll share the recording, and I have a more robust example for IT. I just couldn't find it, and because of time.
Sure. No, I liked the example. It just it all made sense in my head. So if you have a slide with it, I would appreciate it.
Yes. We'll get you these slides, as well as if you want a specific example for your industry, I'll see if I can find a specific example for your industry as well.
Oh, brilliant. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm. So just email me, abe@govcontractors.org. I'll put my email in the chat. So, Guy, can you put my email in the chat while I'll go through this here?
Got it.
All right, so preparing your response. Before you submit it, right, you want to make sure that you check for any last minute changes to your to the statement of work or the solicitation requirements. So don't submit it until you check. And when you go to sam.gov and you find the opportunity, there's a little button that says review or update changes, right? It says that there's changes, and if you don't click on that button that says changes on there, you won't know. Sometimes the due date changes, sometimes there's an addendum that's added, sometimes some of the verbiage has been changed. So make sure you review that. And in fact, let me show it to you guys so that you can see exactly what I'm talking about. So I'm just gonna quickly pull up a project and see that. So this is the original. If you don't click on this view changes, you won't know what's happened. So the published date was changed, and there may be other things that's changing here too. So when you're here, make sure you hit the view changes. Sometimes it's very important. Like here is, they just published the date incorrectly here. So it's not that big of a deal. But in some situation, it becomes a major factor. So when you're looking at a project, make sure you double check that there. Make sure you have everything updated. The next item is look for addendums or extensions or cancellations. You've been writing you see a project come out, you say, oh man, I got 30 whole days to prepare this proposal. And 10 days into it, you think you get all the final documents, all the addendum is correct. And then the day before its due date, you say, let's go on to submit. And the whole project's been canceled. It was canceled 2 weeks earlier, and you just haven't paid attention, right? So you want to make sure that when you're on, most of these sites have a little, you can track it and it will send you updates. So you want to make sure that you click on the tracking. And then if it's electronic or email submission, my suggestion is submit it about 3 to 6 hours prior to the due time. Don't submit too early and don't submit too late. That's really the goal. Now, the last hour, you definitely don't want to submit it the last hour before it's due, because you're going to run into computer issues. They're going to have server issues on their end. Email is easy. Email is because you can timestamp it, right? The moment you submit, it's easy. But if it's a portal submission, some project, you are required to create an account, go into the system and submit your documents through a portal. Those are the ones that's tricky. So those you want to submit 6 hours in advance. If it's email, 3 hours in advance is fine. 2 hours in advance is fine. But never do it. I'll just go, it's due at 12 noon. I'll submit at 11:45. You're going to potentially hurt yourself because there may be some issues that goes wrong. Your computer goes down, internet goes down, and you won't have enough time. By the time you get to Starbucks, it's too late. If it's paper submission, now most federal projects are email or electronic through a portal. Some state and local, they still use paper submission. And every now and then I'll see a federal project that's a paper submission. Working on I think a CDC project, and they had a paper submission. They wanted 5 copies, 5 binders, 1 marked original, 4 marked copies. And then with each one, they want you to put all the file in there, and they also want a jump drive with each folder. Some of them actually ask for a CD. So it just depends what they ask for, but most federal, those days are gone because of the Federal Acquisition Streamlining Act and the Paper Reduction Act. And so, there are more email portal, but state and local, be prepared to do paper submission. That's still highly done at the, especially the local agencies. They really love paper because they don't have the money to update to a sophisticated software that's secured. If it's hand delivery, when they say paper, that could be hand delivery or FedEx, UPS. You don't want to send it through the standard US Postal Service because it's harder to track that way. You can't pay for the other tracking, but I would say do UPS guaranteed by 10, I think 10 or 10:30 a.m. in the morning. If it's due, but if it's mail delivery, you want to send it 1 day prior. Because sometimes things happen. So if you're going to the UPS store or you're going to a place and you're going to have them deliver it, and it's guaranteed 1 day, but don't send it the day of, because sometimes the truck delivery gets messed up and So you always want to send 1 day ahead if it's paper. Now, if it's hand delivery, you want to be there 2 to 3 hours before the due date. You could be there the morning of. It's due at 12 noon. You can go the night before, the morning of, and you have plenty of time to do that there. But make sure you arrive. You plan a few hours. Don't you say, oh, it's just down the street. You know, it's only 20 minutes away. I'll wait. You know, I'll plan to be there about 20 minutes away. So I'll give myself 30 extra minutes. You're gonna run into some traffic. Things happen. Don't let your hard work go to waste by doing it that way. So we've been talking about proposal writing, and so this is as a capture manager, we talked about this at the very beginning. This is really where we're at here. So we've gone, as a capture manager, you've gone through the capture process on the far left here. Now we are in the proposal side of it. So you got your proposal team, your proposal manager, your proposal coordinator, your blue team, your red team, and your green team. Now, for most of you, you're a solopreneur, you're a one woman, one man operation. Guess what? You're wearing all these different hats here. Every single one of these hats, you're wearing those. So you are the blue team, you are the red team, you are the green team. Now, as a quick reminder, someone chime in. Why do we call it the blue team, red team, green team? So someone break this down for us.
Well, for the blue team, you have the draft.
Mm-hmm.
The red team, you pretty much redline the document. And then the green team give it the final thumbs up to move forward.
Perfect. Great answer. 10 points for Stacy. All right, so blue team, this is the blue ink, right? You have a blue ink. This is your blue ink. This is the team that does the draft, the initial blue ink draft. Your red team is the red ink, red pen that checks for all the mistakes, all the issues, grammars, typos, pricing, all of that there. And your green team, this is your final review team. This is your production team that assemble everything together according to the instruction and gets it ready for whoever, whether it's email or whether it's hand delivery. The green team assemble all of that, and then it's either the capture manager that submits it, or the proposal manager that submits, or the CEO of the company that submit the proposal, depending on how you're set up. And so the person here is the one that actually does the submission. So let's break down the blue team a little bit here. You've got not every single type of opportunities follow through all of this here. This is more sophisticated, more advanced type of projects. So and this is mainly tied to services. So let's use an IT as an example. So you have your technical volume lead, and there may be some technical expert that's part of your technical volume lead here. And this team here, they write the technical requirements to the solicitation itself. And then you have your cost volume lead. This is your pricing strategy, what we looked at earlier, right? So this is what we've been spending some time on in terms of benchmarking after your competitors and creating your pricing strategy. Are you trying to be the lowest price? Are you trying to be more profitable? So you have someone in charge of that. And then you have your management volume lead. This is your assembling your management approach to the opportunity itself. You want to create a nice little chart that goes with that there. And then your past performance volume lead. This is your person that's gathering all of the past performance. Sometimes the contracting officer will say, we want you to send out these past performance documents to your references, and then they have to send it directly to the contracting officer. And so someone's going to take the lead on that. And then you have your QA, compliance, security, cybersecurity, safety, different industry, may require different components of that there. So in a sophisticated project, you will have all of that. Now, some of you're in products, and so products, you're just going to have costs mainly, right? Some products may ask you to have a management component to the proposal, but most of the time, product is usually just cost, because it's usually about pricing only. So these are the things you want to have. Now, your management volume lead, I'm going to share with you an example of this here. So I have it here. I did one not too long ago. So let's look as an example here. So your management approach, and again, it's unique to your own industry. And so this is one I helped one of the companies put together for their own approach. So, but this gives you an example. So, and you want to structure this here based upon the requirements of the solicitation itself. So don't just use this here as it is. Use this as an example of addressing the agency, your approach, and your teaming partners, and so forth. So I'm going to zoom in here, and so on the left side here, we address the agency itself. So there's a program office, a program director, and then their procurement office or procurement officers here. And so we address these roles here. And then on the far right, we address the company. In this situation, the Delerme CPA firm. And so they have their team here. Now, I'm sharing this here because I created this here as an example for them. So I'm not using proprietary information sharing with you guys. I don't do that, but because I developed this here for them, this is my content, so I'm able to share it with you guys. So keep that in mind. If it's your proprietary information, I'm not going to share it with other people. But because I developed this here, so it's my own information here. So they have their team, meaning that they have two companies working together, and then it goes into the high level of the statement of work is the management support here, right? What they're going to be doing as it relates to this project. But it's really the center that really what they're interested in. It's how your management, this is your management diagram that you're submitting so that you can explain to the contracting officer how you're going to be managing this project, how you're going to interact with them, and where things fall and come together. So your management organization looks like this here. So you got the companies, two companies. Delerme, in this example, they're the prime. And so they're going to be the program manager here. Q&A and compliance, the program manager is heading up Q&A compliance as it ties back to the company, and is going to be reviewed by the government also over here. And then underneath the program manager, you have the project manager, which is the subcontractor. And so if you are the prime, you want to be ultimately either the program manager or the project manager. You do not want to be someone that's way on the bottom here, because you want overall oversight and control. And really, as the prime, the agency wants to make sure that you have the overall oversight of the whole project, because you're really on the hook. The subs, whether it's a team agreement and their name is on the proposal, or they're just a sub that their name's not on there, you want to make sure that you as a prime have the highest level of control over this project. So the sub is the project manager, and they're going to do reports here, and they're going to communicate back and forth to the program manager. This is a very more simple management approach here, and you can create it more complex than this here. And then the auditors and researchers, and then the grant administrator, and then the subcontractor, they have some of the same people. They're going to staff some of the people also. Usually the prime is doing 51% of the work, and the sub is doing 49%. And so this is your management diagram that you want to submit along with your proposal. You put this into a nice little graph as part of your proposal, and you submit that there. I would suggest, if you're not good in terms of, if you're not great at creating diagrams, use Lucid Chart. It's a free tool. It's part of the Google App Market. So if you just go to Google App Market, Google App Store, and there's a whole bunch of cool apps in there. And lots of them are free. And so go there, research some of these apps here and use it to kind of help you create different things. And so lots of different apps in there. The Lucid Chart is the one I use to create this diagram. I use it to create this flow chart here. Okay, so let's wrap up here. It's time. I appreciate everybody sticking with us. There's a few other things. If you need to go, feel free to go because we are at the hour, the 2-hour mark. But if you want to stick around, this is I want to make sure I cover everything that's important. So I want to review some proposal resources. I want to look at a unsolicited proposal, and I want to talk about some the proposal requirement matrix as well. And if you come to lab tomorrow's at 1, we're gonna go into more details, the requirement matrix. So I'm not gonna cover that tonight. I'll show you what that looks like for those that will not come to class tomorrow. And then I'll look at a few other documents here and then we'll wrap up here.
Hey, Abe.
Yeah.
I have an in-person board meeting tonight, so I'm gonna need to log off.
Yeah, feel free to
Ken,
log
can
on.
you pick up? I've been picking up all the bonus points and anything. So Ken, can you pick up that responsibility? Thank you, sir. Thanks everybody for being here. Appreciate you.
Yep, all over it. Thanks.
Yeah,
So
truth is, we can't cover proposal or pricing. We spent 2 hours talking about proposal last week, and then today we spent 2 hours talking about pricing, and it just does not do justice because I can spend a whole week training on proposal writing and about 2 days training on pricing strategy. It's just too much content, but we do as much as we can in the time frame that we do have. So let's look at some items here. So in our Gov Fast Track here, these resources are in here. So when I say proposal resource documents, go into your Gov Fast Track. All these different resources are in here. Now, these resources here, if you are not in the program, unfortunately, these are not available to you. So it's only available if you are in the CCM. Now, some of the things I covered tonight, that will be available to you. So we put in here a sample sources sought, sample proposal template, and some other pricing sheet and some other things. And there's a CDC technical proposal example here. There's another example. So a few, contingent to hire. Oh, let me spend a quick second here because this contingent to hire is important for you as you're pricing your projects to the government. You're not Accenture. You're not this big firm that has a bench that people just sit around waiting to be put on projects, right? So as a small business, this contingent hire document becomes very important for you. Now, this is harder nowadays because of the labor shortages, but you can still use this here. So let's assume that the government is looking for a software engineer as an example. So the title is software engineer for the CDC in this example here. So you interview 4 or 5 people and you choose one person and you tell that person, hey, Mr. Bob candidate, I want to hire you for this project that we submitted. We're submitting a proposal to the CDC. And this is a contingent hire. Should we get awarded this contract, are you open to being that person that we place on this project? Now, a contingent to hire does not stop this Bob candidate to look for another job. They can, and during the interview, if you decide to bring them on, you openly communicate that with them. So, hey, this contingent to hire is, should we get awarded the project and you're still available and you still need the job, then we want to hire you. The CDC also understand that contingent to hire is not binding to you also.